A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
And welcome back to our new YouTube channel, Alcoholics React.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that like a hot thing? That's like, you gotta have...
Yo, this is me watching the new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, like fucking crying. Like, I can't believe it. Star-Lord is back. Oh. He's been so monumental in my recovery.
Which, the Star-Lord?
The Star-Lord, yeah. The whole Marvel franchise has really been a big foundation of my recovery. I don't fucking care.
Well, I mean, if it is, it is. But, you know, when
Yeah, no, I'm not judging you, but if you're out there living it for fucking Wakanda, you know, you're out there living it for the vibranium and Wakanda or whatever, that's cool. Like, fuck yeah, do what you got to do.
But currently you are right now, you are in the A's for Alcoholic cinematic universe.
Bam.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I watched, what is it called? Guardians of the Galaxy. I started the first one. I don't think I finished it. And then I was playing those Telltale games for a while.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They did one of those, but it was so, like when a movie or a video game or even like a musician or an artist of some kind does something really cool the first time and you're like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then they just take the formula and they just drill it into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt like with Telltale. That they did the Walking Dead, and it was really cool, and it had an engaging story, and then they were like, well, we're just going to put this over here, and then it just became kind of corny, and, there wasn't, like in video games where they give you a choice, and it matters, and they give you a choice, and it doesn't matter, and you're like, well, it doesn't fucking matter what I do, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to murder this person, or I'm just going to steal from this person,
Right.
So it was a little disappointing.
Yeah, fuck Telltale, dude.
They're done anyway.
Yeah, fuck them. Yeah, they are done. But yeah.
Although I found I was having some trouble in Red Dead Redemption, and I actually had to take a bath. Like, people didn't want to be around me because I was dirty and gross. Hygiene is very important in that game.
It is, dude. People will not fuck with you if you don't get a haircut and take a bath, and you got to eat. I mean, you don't have to eat, but then eventually people are like, "Are you okay? You don't look too good." They'll like say shit to you on the street. I say just keep playing the game because the story's so good, but
yeah,
you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. It's not my biggest priority.
Video game cowboys,
Which is nice because I almost like the when they go on their little rides and they're doing the conversation. I kind of like to put it in cinematic mode and just watch it, so I don't have to like keep up with fucking Cletus Rastus or whatever. Whomever it is that I'm...
Cletus Rastus.
I don't know. I just made that up. I don't...
Oh, I thought it was like his dog or something.
Yeah, you don't have a dog in this, do you? That's
no,
Far
but you
Cry.
can pet every fucking dog.
Well, why wouldn't you?
I don't know, dude. I would never kill a dog in a video game unless they were attacking me. That's one thing I hated about Last of Us 2 is I had to kill these dogs. And then the dogs had names and shit. Fuck, dude. So you shoot a dog in the face because it's trying to kill you, and then someone's like, Rex! They fucking killed Rex.
I remember that from the original Wolfenstein back in the 90s, and it was always like, oh man, you got to kill the German Shepherds, and it's like, that's not their fault they were trained by Nazis.
Yeah, dude. Dogs don't have a political ideology. They're just dogs.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it's today I wanted to kind of button up our previous conversation with the questions and answers, and we had a few that were all revolving around relationships.
Oh.
So R is for relationship, and I'd like to share some about my own as well. But I wanted to ask you this, and this was sort of an interesting one that was from Natalia. Our friend Natalia says, how do you feel about your friends/loved ones that still suffer?
Are you asking? Oh, I thought you were going to weigh in on it.
Oh, well, I mean, no, go for it. How do you feel about them when you...
I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel empathy for them, though. It's not like a sympathy like, oh, you could have known better, you really screwed it up. It's more like I feel a lot of empathy because I can relate. I've been there. Yeah, but then when I hear news of their adventures, I do like have this weird sense of like, you fucking idiot. Like it kind of cracks me up, when you call me and you're like, oh, whatever, we have like a whoever, and there you're like, oh, so and so just got fucking popped for a Dewey, and we both know that so and so's giant drunk, and I just look at you like, we've had these conversations where I just smirk at you and you're like, oh yeah, that's you, what you're gonna do, and I'm like, well, what the fuck else, like. I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be this sympathy where I'm like, oh, poor you. Oh, you'll get better. I'm like, no, pendejo. Like you can figure it out. I'm dumb as fuck, and I figured it out, kinda. Like, So for me, it's a lot of empathy. Yeah. I don't have very many sufferers in my life lately, though. Not really. I mean, even within close family. I mean, I probably have a handful of people, maybe, that I know. Maybe not even a handful.
Yeah, I feel the same way. More and more, I'm finding that they talk about it in the big book about looking at the person as somebody who's sick.
Right.
That's and my sponsor told me. I find that's really helpful to go like, well, this is not a moral failing. You're a good person. You're just dealing with something that has a handle on you, has control over you. And so it doesn't behoove me to get angry but yeah, you're right. Like if you're like, oh man, I did this, or I got picked up and I spent the night in the clink, and it's like, well, Jesus Christ, dude. Like I don't have a deal. Yeah. I don't have a problem telling somebody who still drinks, like, dude, come on. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you need to come follow my path. You know what I mean? But that's your choice. So I think I always tell people, be patient, be patient, and be ready if somebody calls you, right?
Right.
Because, and I don't know what you think about the whole in AA, never say no, always be ready to say yes. If you feel good about that, or if that, I know that you are less prone to, I don't want to say you're less prone to service, but maybe you're less prone to service. And I know things are different now in pandemic times.
Yeah.
But
me and service have a weird relationship because I want to be in service and I want to help fellow alcoholics and I really want to help people who are still suffering. But, pardon me, I don't want to be responsible for their suffering in that sense, or I'm not responsible for their sobriety. I don't know. That sounds very selfish. I guess what I'm trying to get at is I don't want to be taken advantage of. And I've seen it happen within the group and within the program where people want to be altruistic, put their best foot forward, help their own recovery by helping other people, and then they get walked on. Because that's what active alcoholics do. They walk on you, right? So I have to be in this position where I have to be guarded because I don't want to be taken advantage of. And that might be that I'm the child of an alcoholic. Do you know what I mean? That might be some Al-Anon shit I need to get into. But I'm just, man, I am very wary of sometimes of certain people. And I think that's also what I do with my friends who are still and family who are still suffering is I keep them at arm's length. I absolutely keep them at arm's length. But, if you call me and ask me for advice, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. I'll even give you a ride to a meeting. Back in the day, I would have done that. But other than that, there's not much else. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm probably not going to sponsor you. Like you're going to have to figure all that shit out on your own. I can only push you and guide you on the path that I feel like would work for you. But not even then. That's the wrong way to phrase it. I would only try to guide you on the path that worked for me. Other than that, man, I can't hold anybody's hand all the way down the path. That's their own fucking, what I'm saying? So, like, if I can't diagnose some motherfuckers an alcoholic, who am I to, like, guide them through their recovery?
I think, too, when working with another alcoholic, when sponsoring somebody, I've had to be very clear with my words and how I use them, and not say you need to do this and you need to do that. And we are very quick to correct ourselves on the podcast when we are talking about something like, and I say, what you need to do, and I'm like, well, actually, what I like to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that the language is important, and it's very easy to come across as belittling or judgmental when you're saying you need to get clean.
Yeah.
You need to clean house and find God, or good God. What is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound good, right? It doesn't sound
let go
helpful.
and let God or whatever.
Yeah. So, I think that in those relationships, you do have to stay arm's length with people who are still drinking or still suffering, as we say. And because I don't want to be a part of that. I'm not interested in meeting you at the bar. I'm not interested in going to your friend's birthday party, right? I'm not interested in a casual hangout with you and a few casual friends from your work.
Right. Right.
I think I'm far less interested in going to random parties. Back in the day, we used to go to all kinds of like, fuck it, there's a house party down the road. We don't know anybody. Let's go crash it, man. It'll be fun.
Shit. Let's go steal some booze. Yeah.
Right.
But we're also in our 20s, dude. We're in our 40s now. I mean, what fucking casual hangouts does anyone have in their 40s? If you're in your 40s just having cash hangouts where you just show up at your friend's house and just sit there all day and watch TV, like, that's wild. That's just wild to me. I have a wife and a kid and shit. Like, I fucking a bunch of shit I gotta do. I'm trying to squeeze every last drop out of this lemon I call life. You know, I don't need to be sitting here watching fucking Full House with you, you know, watching fucking Highway to Heaven. With you guys drinking a handle, or even sober watching you all drink a handle and laugh at, you know, Highway to Heaven. I ain't fucking with
whatever happened to.
Exactly.
So another question that I got that was, and this is the crux of today's, I think, episode is, it was from Angela, and she sent a lengthy email, and I think the thought that she's asking about this idea that they say in the program about waiting a year before you start dating. And her being, you know, a couple of years sober, or I've been attempting to date. Unfortunately, I'm quick to learn that I still allow myself to twist my own rubber arm, wanting to go back to quote unquote fun and normal early dating behaviors. I'm open and honest about my needs and my relationship with alcohol from the get-go, then literally find myself reversing my words and actions to fit in because it's what I think I want, and all my previous objectives go out the window. So she talks about having to end relationships, and although I don't think Jerry and I are relationship experts or here to give advice.
I don't understand. The question is that this person wants to when they go out into the dating world, they want to start drinking again, or they want to go out and party like normal people do. I'm unclear.
What I think I'm having to end any relationship or dating attempt very quickly because I recognize I'm not strong enough yet and want or need to keep my focus on my number one priority.
Right.
I'm assuming it's the sobriety and herself. So it's incredibly frustrating, unfortunately, but certainly can appreciate this most likely isn't a new concept or challenge for alcoholics in sobriety. So I think the question here is, one, I would say, why is it important to wait a year into your recovery?
Man, I don't know.
And two, what is the proper way to go about that? So I will join Jerry in that question. I have no idea. I don't have any straight advice, but I can only talk from my own experience.
Right, exactly. And my experience is I'm a married dude, and I went into the program married. I didn't have girlfriends. My wife was like, "You're not allowed to have girlfriends," and I was like, "Fair enough."
Yeah,
very smart of you. Yeah.
So I would like to talk about my experience because when I was drinking, I was single for most of it. And when I got sober in July. I started working a program. I don't know. I started going to meetings in August. I started working a program. I don't think I started working the actual program until December.
Yeah.
So 6 months of kind of like just
white knuckles,
going to this meeting every single week. And so I want to talk about my relationship now. And the woman that I was with, I met her like in October, just about 5 years ago. And I was straight up about the problems I was having, and I was still but it was hard to explain because I didn't know what I was going through because I hadn't really gone through it yet, right? So
Right.
early on in our relationship, when I started working the program, days where I would come home and I'd be fucking crying from working with my sponsor. Like I would be upset and I'd be sad and what's going on. And she was extraordinarily supportive and understanding and saw this as real, you know, deep work that I was doing on myself. And, you know, we were together for 5 years and just very, very recently we have parted ways. And, Jesus, Jerry, I don't know. I guess this feels like some sort of fifth step. Does this count? Does the podcast count as a fifth step?
I don't know. While you're telling this story, I'm like, so are they gonna still keep doing this podcast together?
No.
The John and Rashida podcast? I don't think so, right? It'll just be.
So, and so here's the thing. We were together for 5 years, and I have nothing but good things to say about this person. This person has been super supportive and helpful and has inspired me in ways that I never thought possible, has been supportive of all of my creative endeavors when nobody else was. And, you know, I think a lot of things happened over this last year. But so I went through recovery with a relationship, and it made both of them more difficult than they needed to be.
Right.
And so I think that now, had I waited a year, had I said no and waited a year, I don't think that I would have ever had the last 5 years with this person. Right. They would have just gone off and I would have gone off and then something else would have happened and whatever. So, I wouldn't have changed anything, but it made it more difficult because I had no foundation. I had no sense of self. I was still just, you know what it's like that first 6 months in recovery and you're like steps and I'm working with somebody and the sponsee is like, what do I do here? And what is this? And, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it's, you know, you do this, this, and this, but when you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
So, and I just want to say that this relationship that has ended, part of my whole new philosophy on life of trying to have this sort of, what did I call it? Radical acceptance of what is. And, is that things just came to a completion and that there was no more for us to gain from each other being together in this way at this time.
At this time. That's what I was waiting for you to say, because that's what's important. There's no finality on it until it's final. At this time. That being said, you know, it's also not healthy to tell yourself that there may be other opportunities for this thing. You just leave it as it is. It's inert now. Do you know what I mean? It's like
So
yeah, static thing.
I love that. That's so this idea of a relationship being complete was something I heard, and it just made a lot of sense that the woman who said, so this was, if you listen to the Rich Roll podcast and occasionally he'll have his wife on.
Yeah.
And I originally, like one of my first impression of her was, and I hate to use this phrase, but I don't know, but this sort of hippy dippy vibe, but of course, you know, and I was kind of put off. And I was listening, as I was listening to her speak, I was like, oh, she's making a lot of fucking sense here. You should probably listen to this woman. And she talked about a previous relationship where she had children and how it had become complete. It wasn't that it was broken. We had done everything we could do. We had 2 beautiful children. I think that's what it was. But that was the purpose and the point. Right. So we don't always get to know the purpose and the point of the relationship. But, you know, currently I have completed this time with this person, and like there's still a lot of hurt. I'm hurt and I'm angry and I'm sad, you know, and
but that's normal though, dude. Like that's not normal to feel that way when things have been completed. Well, it depends on the thing. Like if you've done a good day of hard work, you've completed those tasks, you should not be angry. You should be like satisfied that you've done them. But as far as like a relationship is concerned, yeah, those things are totally absolutely normal, dude.
So I'm trying to be satisfied, but I'm you know, because my old self, my drinking self.
Oh God.
I keep trying to go look back, right? I'm like,
I
I'm
know
looking back.
him.
I'm
I
like,
remember him. Yeah.
mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What did I
Mm-hmm.
miss? What did I do? Should I have done something? Wait, was there that moment when I should have said yes when I said no, or said no when I should have said yes? Should
Right.
I have should I have asked her to marry
But
me? Should I
even
have
hearing that loop is frustrating to me because you're like, it doesn't solve anything. All you're doing is belly navel gazing. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? You're just that, but that's the old obsessive John. Now I'm thinking of, not to change it, but what this person wrote about, within the 100 days. And I think the reason why they have that, or why that's kind of like a unofficial kind of guideline, is that it's just undertaking any new project while you're trying to get your shit together is just
Mhm.
probably not advisable. That being said, for this person, Angela, if you're out there dating, I'm not sure how much time you have or she has, or they have, but if they're out there dating and every time they hit a point in this relationship where they question their recovery or puts their recovery in jeopardy, then maybe they're not quite ready to go out there and pursue relationships. Like if you're
Mhm.
being in a relationship and you're in recovery and you're dating normies and the normies are like, let's go out to the fucking tapas bar, or whatever, tapa, not topless, or topless, whatever. It doesn't
Whatever.
matter. Let's just go out to an alcohol place. I mean, you really got to put down your. I would, let me rephrase that again. I would really put down my boundaries and I'd be very clear. Like, look, I'm a fucking blackout drunk, and I'm trying not to be a blackout drunk. And going, as much as tapas sound delicious, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not really
Mhm.
my jam right now. I don't know if it's a problem we keep running into over and over again. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it just keeps hitting the same wall with different people. It seems to be that
Yeah.
the problem isn't really necessarily in dating. I think the thing that needs to be worked out is how you're approaching your own recovery, or maybe the phase you're at in your recovery. Now, how long did you start? When did you start dating, Rashida?
We
Yeah.
This was, so it's fine. About a year or so, 5 years ago. So it was in
How
October,
long were you sober for? October. So
July,
you've been
August, September, 3.5
so you had a
months.
girlfriend in 4 months of your recovery.
I was not, and that was
I'm
right.
still me to laugh. It's just
No.
because I'm from where I'm coming from. Like, I don't know if I would have done that, but we're different people. And also, you were a different person 5 years ago than you are now. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, you would have approached this whole thing differently with the amount of time you have and the amount of things you've discovered about yourself now at this
Mm-hmm.
point. I only laugh because I remember myself 4 months in recovery and I couldn't even figure out what fucking shoes I was going to wear. Do you know what I mean? Nonetheless, like, want to be with a person.
Yeah.
My wife was barely talking to me at 4 months in. She was barely talking to me. She was like, "Oh, it's you, motherfucker.
You think,
You're
you
back
think,
again."
right? That notion of like, I guess maybe there wasn't, she didn't trust you yet. She still thought,
No,
yeah,
no. I had to really
yeah.
salvage our relationship. We both had to work at salvaging our relationship because I'd just walk in the room and she's like, "What are you gonna do? Smoke fucking 8 cigarettes in 2 hours and drink 4 fucking rock stars? Is that your new thing now, Jerry? You asshole." You know. So
Yeah.
yeah, there was a lot of salvaging. Like it wasn't like this ultimate, because my wife Megan is not an ultimatum person. She has absolutely never been an ultimatum person. She's
Mm-hmm.
never been like, you do this or I do that. She's just like, you do you, and if it affects me, then I'm gonna let you know in a
Mm-hmm.
very polite. She's like really adjusted emotionally in that way. So when she threw that ultimatum at me, that was real. That wasn't like, you fucking asshole, like other girlfriends I've had who are throwing shit across the room and, I fucking
Mm-hmm.
leave you, and I'm fine, leave, bitch, which was 2001, Jerry. This was like real. So we really had to salvage that thing. And I think still now we work on it. We've been together for a long time. Being in a relationship in recovery with a person who, I don't know, I don't even know, with a person who's a non-alcoholic, I'd say is one thing. I can't even imagine being in a relationship and recovery with another recovering alcoholic. Like, that's wild shit too.
Mm-hmm.
But in your case, I think what you're doing, and this might just be John's breaking up podcast.
Sure.
Or resolution of a agreement.
Nice. Nice
Yeah,
one. Yes.
but I think what you're doing, I think you're doing really good. And I think you're approaching it in a really emotionally healthy way. And I don't think you're doing it for show for the podcast. I don't think you're being like, oh, I got my shit together because this is fucking A's for Alcoholic John. Like, I really think you're taking these tools in recovery and you're applying them to a situation that in any other cases would be fairly traumatic. Do you know what I mean? Or fairly emotionally taxing, you know? And you're doing a really good job with it from what I can see, or at least what you're expressing to me in this podcast and in our texts and stuff. Yeah. You know, it's a hard thing. Resolving a relationship is never fucking easy. It doesn't matter. Even I got to give, and not to belittle what you're going through, but I got to give notice to my landlord that I'm moving out. And even that's hard. Like, I don't even know how to deal with that shit. I'm making my wife do it because I don't want to do it, you know?
Right.
And I'm not saying, you know, those two things don't compare. I'm just trying to bring some levity to the situation here, but
no, it's true. I mean, your landlord's been fucking suckling at your teat all this time.
18 months, you know, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for a long-term tenant. And my wife and I were like, we will be long-term tenants. We'll be here at least 5 years because we were planning to save money up to buy a house, you know?
Right.
And we were going to stick around at least till Olive was in high school. So 3 years, you know, our last place we were in 5 years before we got booted out because they sold the house. That's the other thing about being a tenant, man. They sell that house. They don't give a fuck. Good luck. Good luck out there in the world. Oh, you don't have money saved up to move? Sorry, I got to sell this shit. I need another boat. Anyway, This is not that kind of podcast. But
no, that's great. That's great. That's a great analogy only because, I mean, there's a lot of, even with a tenant and landlord relationship, there's a lot of complexities, and you're signing contracts and you have agreements and all this kind of stuff. And even, you know, you have to say we're leaving. And, you know, there's no, in a personal relationship, there's no 30-day notice. There's no, be like, hey, I need to stay here because I still have, I paid you rent. You know what I mean? It's just,
you don't prorate that shit. Right.
Right. Yeah. And when it's done, it's done. And especially when two people feel that something is done and then don't do anything about it, those last few months can feel really sad when you're together. And those last days can feel like, what are we doing here? This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel well. This is not the beautiful, happy place that I remember with you. And I don't want it to be sad here.
Right. I feel like that's a symptom of miscommunication, though. Do you know what I mean? Because two people are in this agreement together, and they're not communicating what's going on. I communicate constantly, which is probably a detriment of mine. It's probably one of my character flaws is that I fucking communicate all the time. But I feel like if you're not checking each other's temperature, then you're not going to know, and then it becomes this ghost town, this sad ghost town of a relationship, you know?
Right.
I don't know. See, but in recovery, we're learning things. This is great, right? A lot of the show is compare and contrast. And I know I say that, I've said that before, but that's all I can really do is compare and contrast. I can't offer anybody anything new that I haven't learned yet, you know, but I can compare and contrast how I've seen you personally deal with the breakups of relationships and the obsessive nature. And I've been on that ride with you because I have split up with people in really unhealthy ways and been completely obsessive alongside with you. You and I both had tandem breakups of two women who had the exact same name.
Yeah.
You remember that? And we both were a fucking train wreck over these two women that had the same fucking name.
Long.
And it was all for nothing. I mean, my relationship was very unhealthy. Yours was like short and fleeting. Do you know what I mean? But because of our obsessive nature, we fixated on this one thing. It was like, in my mind, it was always like a broken tooth that I couldn't stop tonguing. Like I just kept getting at that abscess in my tooth. Yeah, and it would hurt and it would totally be unhealthy. And instead of finding a way to get the tooth pulled or fixed, I would just keep fucking with it, you know? But as we get older, it's not even about older. I think as through experience and through our experience in recovery, I see, like I said, I see you doing so much better with it. And, you know, I don't know, maybe you turn off the fucking stream and listen to fucking All by Myself and cry in your room. I don't know.
No. So I'll be straight up with you.
Maybe you do 100 push-ups and cry. I don't know. But that's what you got to do. You got to do it, you know?
So I'll be straight up with you. And, you know, you're right. I'll tell you whatever. I do have moments of sadness, and I do have moments where I feel like I want to cry, and they come at very inopportune times. Like I'll be at work and something will just hit me, or, you know, when your cell phone it says, "Hey, you have a new memory to look at," or something like that in
Oh
your
my God.
photos, and I'm like, "Oh fuck." So I don't know that I've had time or space to fully unload emotionally about it all. And I'm trying
Right.
my best not to bottle things up, and I think it'll come uh, probably sooner than later. So I think compare and contrast to those other relationships that you were talking about, and I was
Right.
hung up. I had a very like strong, exciting burst. I fell in love, and I thought we were in love for 4 months. Maybe it was
Right.
5.
It was
And
5 months.
and then she's like, actually, I came to find out that I was the rebound. And then she went back but I was like fixated on that shit for like a year. I drank over it for like a year.
Over a 5 month relationship.
So when I look at the way that I'm
Wow.
processing things now, yeah, I know, right? I would remember was bartending at the bar at the Belmar, and I would like
Yeah,
turn the
been
yeah
drinking.
yeah I had basically had every single Tom Waits album, and I would just play Tom Waits all night and turn the lights down as low as I could, legally do it, and put candles all over the place, and I would just sit in this fucking like dark candle lit bar listening to Tom Waits, and you wonder why I couldn't get over it for
Right.
fucking 10 hours a
Well,
day.
in the meantime, while you're doing that, you've probably got a young lady sitting at your bar who was like super way more fucking fun and way
Mhm.
more into doing shit, and you wouldn't be there, but you're just got the blinders on. It's the obsessive nature of an alcoholic, you know.
Mhm.
Relationships are weird, man.
So I'm trying to not have blinders this time, and
I don't
I
think you are. I think you're
right.
doing really well. But carry
Yeah.
on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
no, no. It's okay. I mean, I know that this podcast can seem performative, and in some ways it is, and we've discussed this before, but
Right.
I'd be straight up with you in telling you that I'm deeply sad.
Yeah, and
I'm
it's okay.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm also trying my best, like you said, to use all the tools to think about things in a different way, because I've done that other thing. And that other thing just led me to more sadness.
Right.
I talked to a mutual friend of ours who, had a big bad breakup and ended up, moving and all this stuff. And I remember asking him, I sent him a text and I was like, "Hey, how you doing out there?" And he's like, "I'm just mining sadness."
Mm-hmm.
Like that was his thing. I'm just sitting at the bar and I'm mining my sadness,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, this person, this other person. And I thought, God, what a fucking, like, I don't know if he meant I'm mining the sadness to get it out, but I feel like it was more like I'm mining the sadness to wallow in it,
Yeah.
to keep these things. And at least that's how I interpreted it. And I just thought,
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.